All right. We're gonna move on to the right. So I just donkey punched Biden, right? And now let's give it to the right. Let's give it to the right-hand side. And that was my, of course, legal commentary and my fair use analysis to all those videos and information. And now I'm going to fair use another video from a certain reporter that may or may not be directly on the Kiwi Farms. He may not be farming kiwis right now. And that is my good friend and my sometimes field reporter, Nick Rekieta. So we're going to go into this. This is his video on how Marjorie Taylor Greene is being manipulated in her censorship. So we're going to cover this one. This is great. And it is a great point up here. So we're going to cover that. Literally, if you look in this background, Nick looks like he's on a farm. Like if an emu walked behind Nick right now, I would not be surprised. Like if a fucking giant bird walked behind him, I would feel like that's right. That's right that's very appropriate. So I'm going to put my legal commentary over Nick's legal commentary. So we are going to have a legal bukkake here today on top of Marjorie Taylor Greene in this MTG situation. So let's hear from my favorite guy who has my Fed glasses, Nick Rekieta.
Guys, I'm here to tell you the story of how Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, darling of the right, is being manipulated somehow into aligning herself with a trans activist leftist named Keffals in a crusade against a website called Kiwi Farms.
Okay, so let's stop there. First of all, I like this one. Nick fights a cassowary to the death. That would be actually really good. That'd be a really good edit, you know? And Max Muir with 250 yen says, hello, sexy girlfriend. Long duck dong. Appreciate it, Max. Appreciate that you're alive and not currently dead right now in a Tokyo ditch. But always good to see you and have you on my program when I can. I'm going to say this about MTG because he calls her darling of the right. I think, look, and this is going to be something I'm going to apply to everything. I applied everywhere. I agree with people on issues and disagree with people on issues. I don't think it's smart, whatever your political beliefs are, to just fucking simp for people and accept everything they say. I'm wrong about something sometimes, I know, and people call me out on it. They say, Andrew, on this issue, you're wrong, you're horrible, you're breaded. This is a bad take. Right? And that's fine. Nick, sometimes he says things kind of gay, right? We all have times when we can be wrong about stuff. You do not need to simp for somebody like they are the God Emperor in 40K. This is not the universe we're living in, right? You don't need to worship people's every action. You need to say, I agree with them on this point and they're wrong on this point. And that's even more powerful if you support somebody. Because if you support somebody, you need to tell them, hey, I support you, but I don't like this issue. And maybe they consider that. They say, hey, I want this person to still support me, so I'm going to think about this issue. And if enough people that support that person say, hey, I don't like you on this issue, they may think about that issue. Do not worship people. People are not worthy of your worship. Support, yes. Worship, no way. No way. Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene, we'll talk about it, but I'll say it straight up. She is not hella smart. She's kind of dumb, which is true of a lot of people. It's true of me on certain things. There's certain things that I'm kind of dumb about, and I admit that. Right? There's certain things I'm not a good person to advise somebody on. I'm not going to give medical advice, okay? I get that. We're all here together. We all agree on that. So let's go ahead and see what our reporter here is. See, Moosdot says, hey, Andrew, you suck. I agree. I sometimes suck.
This is a problem, and the lack of thought that's going into the reactions of Marjorie Taylor Greene is a big problem. We need to expect and demand better from our politicians, especially when they're supposed to be on the side of liberty. And we've got to call them out when they're going to go directly against that liberty position and align themselves with a leftist lunatic who is mad at Kiwi Farms for exposing their grooming of children on multiple
Okay, so let's point this out real quick.
occasions. All right.
So let's point this out real quick. So Marjorie Taylor Greene has made some great points about censorship and has made some great points about the leftist controlling media. But you lose all credibility immediately when you call for censorship of any website. See, if you're saying, oh no, the leftists, they're doing bad things and they're censoring me, you can't turn around and say this is bad too, and it needs to be, this website needs to be taken down. That's a problem. That's illogical incoherence.
Right, that's the intro. Here we go. Here's the story that's going on right now. The backstory is there's a website called Kiwi Farms. If you watch my live show, I've mentioned Kiwi Farms several times. What it is simply a forum that allows people to say basically whatever they want about a person. This forum has grown into this place to watch typically internet celebrities of some sorts. If you go to Kiwi Farms, you can see I have a thread there as well of people talking about me. Some of the things said in the thread are flattering and wonderful. Other things are not so flattering, and there are tons of outright falsehoods and leaps of logic and horrible things said about me or family members or friends or whatever.
Pause there. Okay. So actually, I Googled this. Rekieta is a regular cowboy on a ranch. Like I said, he's farming kiwis. He is out here farming kiwis. If a little fucking bird walked by being harassed by some crazy New Zealander in the background, I would believe it. By the way, Kiwi Farms started as CWC Farms, Quickville Farms, which was really focused on Chris Chan, which I've been covering as well. So I'm a little bit deeper in the Kiwi nowadays than I was in the past, since I've covered Chris Chan a little bit. Since his trial was supposed to go, I think it got punted till perhaps next year. But yeah, no, Nick Rekieta has a page on Kiwi Farms. And you know what's funny? I went the other day and I mentioned in that, sometimes positively, sometimes a little negatively, but it's usually positive on Nick's entry on Kiwi Farms. But the point is that some people do talk shit about Nick and some people like Nick, right? And that's totally okay. That's fine. Nick doesn't have a problem with that. He hasn't tried to get them taken down. It is what it is. It is what it is. That's the internet. People are going to make fun of you. Bask in the glory that is that, right? I love it. Have a Fanta. Relax and have a Fanta. The best advice ever. Just relax and have a Fanta. Kiwi Farms, if you don't know, it's a forum which lists people. They usually call them locals, right? And different people have their own forum link. So you have Chris Chan, right? You got Nick Rekieta. Maybe in the future, they'll be your boy Legal Mindset. Maybe I'll have my own thread. I aspire to that one day. And people will bring you up, mock you, call you gay, whatever they want to do, or say you're a cool dude. A Pepsi Man says there's a LawTube thread. Okay, cool. I think it's like LawTube as a whole, right? I think it's LawTube as a whole, Pepsi Man. But point is that they'll bring it up. That's cool. That's great. That's the internet, right? That's like what the internet is for. I remember that being what I got on the internet for, to get whatever information. 2 super chats here. Brit says, heretic, service to the emperor. The fortunate may have time to repent. How many hail rackets do I have to say right now? How many hail rackets do I have to say to please the Pope? And we need to come up with the official LawTube prayer. It's like hail rackets full of whiskey. Thou art more based and red-pilled than thine cuck enemy, legal schmiegel. I mean, we need the full prayer, right? Because if he's the Pope, we need the service, right? So get on that, people. Get on that. Capricious says, now this is a story about how our girl MTG backed up a locale. Yeah, this is an epic own. Epic own.
That's the nature of free speech, and that's the exchange you have for being in public. Enter Keffals. Keffals is a weirdo. I don't know how else to describe this person. I'm not super familiar with them. However, they are a loudmouth trans activist. That means that doesn't mean, in this instance, they are transgender, male to female, and they are an activist outspoken on social media about this issue and issues related to it. Keffals also happens to be accused of using Keffals' own words and tweets and Discord servers and everything of being into sort of grooming children into being trans against their parents' knowledge or wishes and without the guidance or assistance of any medical professionals at all, literally using a bathtub recipe for hormone replacement therapy.
Okay, I heard about this story. See, I was like, Keffals, where do I remember that? And I was like, oh yeah, the bathtub groomer, literally injecting children with bathtub growth hormone, with homebrew, puberty blockers. I mean, that's pretty fucking crazy. That's up there. I mean, if that's true, right? And I will give Edwards as extremely wrong, extremely if true, right? I will give the benefit of the doubt. Even degenerate trans groomers deserve due process. But if it's true, the wall is what should await the groomers. Keffals, the groomer of Catboy Ranch. Yeah. The Catboys are legion. The biggest problem nowadays. All right, let's go.
I wish I was making that up. And that's just a smidgen of slice of things that Kiwi Farms has exposed of Keffals using Keffals' public tweets, posts, videos, etc. The lore goes much deeper. You can look it up yourself. I don't know what all about it is true, but what I do know is that in the world, you have the right.
By the way, smart statement by Nick there. See, Nick is very good when he says stuff, and I'm just going to point this out. Nick's like, I don't know what, if any, is true. I think that Nick tends to believe that it's true, but you got to say you don't know what's true and, whatever, because it hasn't been proven. It is defamatory if you're accusing them of a crime. So you got to say, okay, look, they're afforded due process. Don't know if it's true, right? You don't want to be defaming anybody. We're going to talk about defamation lawsuits in a bit. We're going to talk about the BitBoy suit after this, but this is a very smart move by the Pope.
To say quite a bit about someone, unless you're spreading intentional falsehoods with the purpose of defaming their character. In this case, they're again pointing to specific things Keffals has done and said. Keffals does not like this, does not like the existence of a thread that exposes these things and potentially might hurt or impact her pro-trans message or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not in this person's brain, thank Christ. That being said, Keffals has been on a week-long crusade at the recording of this video to try and get Kiwi Farms taken down, and has successfully somehow, even though they have basically a pretty small social media footprint, has managed to have Kiwi Farms trend for multiple days. Usually this works by picking up people who aren't familiar with the actual facts of what's going on, but they are familiar with lots of buzzwords and have an eager retweet button. And so it gets spread far and wide to a bunch of ignorant people on the internet.
Okay, let me say this real quick. This is definitely how things happen. People just look for a word and you don't research. Like, as soon as there's a word out there, and this is something that both, once again, the left, right, both guilty of. Even myself, people gave me some shit for the Gravy Seal video, right? People said, oh, that was just a training simulation. Those aren't actual agents. That makes you look bad. I'm like, well, I get it. I can add a note to it, whatever, right? That it's a simulation, that, whatever, yada, yada. However, the point of the matter is I think that one still makes the federal government look bad. But you see something bad, you see it supporting your side, see it supporting your point, and you retweet it, you go with it. Sometimes you don't research it. And if you make a misstatement, yeah, correct that misstatement if it's a falsehood. But if you are just retweeting a buzzword, maybe you should look a little bit carefully into what's going on there. That's a left and right issue.
Internet. Enter the Marjorie Taylor Greene situation. Marjorie Taylor Greene was just swatted at her home residence in Georgia. Now, to be upfront.
And swatting is when the police come to your house, right? For those who don't know, for those that are not in the United States, right? Because some people are not in the US. Swatting is when the police come to your house because there's a serious report. Now, we'll get into the exact allegation of what happened. But swatting is honestly done, in my opinion, when somebody swats you, they are hoping the police shoot you, because that has happened in some instances where the police show up to somebody's house. They're not expecting it because nothing's wrong, and they get shot. So, yeah.
And very, very clear and candid about this. I have been swatted at my house. It was handled rather professionally and well by law enforcement in my area, and that does not make it any less frustrating, angering, a little bit terrifying, because once people know who you are, where you live, or whatever that may be, whatever concoction they need to get this to happen, they can employ the state through a phone call to cause grief in your life. Now, for me, it turned out relatively okay. The police were professional. There was no kicking down of doors or guns pointed at children or anything like that. Right?
But there could be. And the thing is, every situation, there can be guns pointed at kids. There can be, stuff coming out. It can be real, real bad. I think that with most people nowadays, especially with the police getting more wise to this and not wanting to be pulling the trigger as much, I think that's a good thing, certainly, that the police have calmed down this. And certainly if you're a public figure, if you're somebody that's known and this happens to you often, I'm sure, like, for example, like Tug, that umbrella guy getting swatted a bunch, I'm sure they're used to it by now. They know, and they know that people don't like this guy. So the police aren't coming there necessarily with their guns out every single time. They know it's likely bullshit.
Right?
Yeah, same thing with, by the way, Jeremy and Tim Pool, the quartering, thank you very much, and Tim Pool. I'm sure by now they all know when it's Tim Pool that it's probably bullshit. They all know it's probably bullshit.
For other people, it's not so lucky, and there have even been officer-involved fatalities due to swatting in the past, year or 2 years. There was a big case where this happened. Someone answered the door. It wasn't even the person who is the target of the swatting. They had given a false address or a previous address, and that person was shot and killed by police. Extremely tragic situation. So I empathize with Marjorie Taylor Greene and her frustration over the swatting. It should never happen. But this is where the story gets complicated. Marjorie Taylor Greene is laying the blame on the feet of Kiwi Farms. The same blame is being laid on Kiwi Farms for Keffals and Keffals' situation. Now, the reason Marjorie Taylor Greene is blaming Kiwi Farms idiotically has to do.
Agreed, by the way. It's idiotic because literally she's taking the word of the guy of Keffals, who's saying that he's this particular mod on Kiwi Farms. So because Keffals is saying, no, I'm this mod. They're saying, oh, okay, that's totally legit. What?
With the 911 phone call where the person calling in the SWAT on MTG said they were from Kiwi Farms and gave their username as one of the moderators there.
And now, they just took that, once again, the person that lied about a criminal incident, which we're going to read about. So a person who already lied, so they've already lied about somebody getting shot. So they've already lied about that. You think they wouldn't lie about their identity? You think they're going to turn around and be honest about their identity? That is peak retardation. And that's where Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm sorry, she needs to go back to school. She needs to get a little bit more educated. That is not something that I think any sane person should believe, that the person who literally lied about the crime happening at your house is going to be honest about who they are. Why would they do that? Why in the world would they have any incentive to dox themselves?
Basic logic would suggest if you were committing a crime like a swatting, you would not tell the police where you are like representing or who you are at all.
So sorry. This is the first time, by the way, guys, seriously, I'm watching this live with you throughout the first thing. All I did was see that Nick had this video up and I'm playing it. I did not see that he said that right after. So it's entirely a coincidence that I said that before Nick. Like, I just entirely a coincidence. So I'm enjoying that as much as you guys. I have not seen this video. So all I saw was Nick on a farm talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm like, all right, we're doing it. We're doing it. This is gold.
Typically with a swatting, someone would give a false identity because it's a criminal act. So you don't often call the police and say, hello, I'm Nick Rekieta. I'm calling in a SWAT call on so-and-so, unless it's real. Like if it's a real call and you're like, oh my God, something's really happening, you might do this. But Marjorie Taylor Greene should know that this was a false thing that was used to cause her grief, not because someone was genuinely concerned of an ongoing criminal act at her house that they were trying to rectify, specifically like dead children or whatever they called in. It was a horrific story, and it always is, because they're trying to get police to respond dramatically to the situation. Marjorie Taylor Greene and her staff should know that this is almost guaranteed to not have anything to do with someone from Kiwi Farms calling this in, and is much more likely, the much more likely scenario is that the person who is on a public crusade, or one of their supporters who they would never ask to do this, but this is how the internet works. Someone will do something in support of a movement without being asked to do it. And that
very true on that in terms of supporting movements.
Insulates everybody from any sort of liability. It's much more likely that someone who is a fan of Keffals, or maybe someone who's trying to set up Keffals, would do this, blame Kiwi Farms because maybe they have some personal motivation against Kiwi Farms, or they're on the bandwagon. It doesn't matter, but they would blame the place that they want to be taken down. Like, that is the most logical outcome.
Yep.
Like, if someone swatted someone else and they were mad at me, they would call in as me. That would make sense. And then that, like, but that, right? Like, it doesn't actually make sense, because why would I do that? Why would someone from Kiwi Farms, who is a happy user, a moderator, or whatever they claim to be, call in to a thing that would guaranteed have negative repercussions for Kiwi Farms if it were true? This is a false flag operation. Now, not from
that's what we need to get hip to right there. False flag operations. These are going to happen on the right, on the left, to every single team. You know, there's always a possibility of false flags. So if you're not thinking about something nowadays in terms of, is this a false flag, you're just not thinking enough. Is this something that somebody else could do and then pretend to be somebody else? In many cases, yes, it's very possible. And you have to rule that out. Unfortunately, you have to always rule that out nowadays because it's too easy. You can't just take people at their word. And of all people, like Danielle said, Marjorie Taylor Greene, of all people, should be aware of false flags. She's literally trying to talk about the FBI having a deep anti-Trump bias, and she's not aware of false flags. Come on. That's just dumb. Like, that's just real dumb. Future Conflict says Kiwi Farms is just gossip and Mean Girls. Future Conflict, does that make it the same as your Monday, Wednesday, Friday panels? Just gossip and Mean Girls? Because I think that's all you have on your channel, right? It's just a bunch of girls talking, right? Over, spilling the tea, right? I mean, it's all you got, right? I'll see you there. I'll see you there this week or next week. I got to stop by your show again. As Farrell says, $4.99. I bet Marjorie Taylor Greene has never been on Kiwi and knows little about it. But that's the problem. Here's the problem. As the problem is that people need to shut the fuck up if they don't know what they're talking about, or at least say this, say, I don't know much about it, but what I've been told is XYZ. But don't act like it is a thing, because we're going to look at what Marjorie Taylor Greene says and what a lot of other articles say. We're going to see what the Daily Mail says about Kiwi Farms and what about Marjorie Taylor Greene says about it. They act like they know it. They act like it's an ex-girlfriend they dated for 10 years. And that's just not the reality. Not even close. Ruben Hart says, hello, Kashinanale. Agree with MTG being stupid. This case is weird, but that trans activist needs to be questioned. Yeah, of course. Everybody needs to be questioned on this one because they committed a crime. I think that we should treat swatting akin to attempted murder. Swatting should be treated like attempted murder and investigated as such, because it is always an attempt to kill. Let's continue.
Like the government, but just from an idiot. The problem is Marjorie Taylor Greene is falling hook, line, and sinker for this bait, and she is aligning herself against free speech, against liberty, against the basic rights of people to communicate on the internet on a private website and say really whatever they want. And she is now trying to join in with Keffals in getting this taken down. That's a bad take every single day of the week. Marjorie Taylor Greene, girl, you got to stop this. Talk to a staffer or whatever. Find out what Kiwi Farms is and then ignore it forever, because it's not for you. It's not for most people on Earth.
Yes, Kiwi Farms takes a specific taste. I will say this right now, having gone to Kiwi Farms to research Chris Chan, don't go to the farms. Don't go to the farms if you are weak of stomach, right? If you guys are not ready for some unfiltered shit, do not go to Kiwi Farms. Do not check out the farms if you're a snowflake. But if you're on my channel, let's be real real quick. If you're on my channel or you're on Nick's channel, you're probably some form of degenerate. And you probably are the type of person who will go there because you want to see the car crash. You've got a little bit of that schadenfreude. You want to see the world burn a little bit. So it's highly likely that people on Nick's chat and in my chat may be going there. Highly likely. But you've been warned. Don't say you weren't warned. Valerie says, speak for yourself. Yes, there are the innocent waifus. We can save the innocent waifus. We'll start a fund. Save the innocent waifus. It's okay. All right.
Kiwi Farms is a place where people get together and gossip. You don't have to like it, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen somewhere. And if we're going to start banning websites or entities or whatever that are the source of swattings, Call of Duty's got to go. Fortnite's got to go. Twitter's got to go. Facebook's got to go. YouTube's got to go. But Google Messenger has got to go. Every website where communication has occurred is likely the source of a swatting on a given timeline. It's just how it happens. And that's part of the nature of freedom. Unfortunately, some people will take freedom and use it negatively. That is not an excuse to start banning people. And that is such an anti-liberty take that I wouldn't expect it from anyone purporting to be on the side of freedom, on the side of the Constitution, and on the side of liberty. So,
fair point. Once again, if you're on the side of liberty, you cannot be on the side of censorship. I sent that tweet out today. Whether you're right or left, you cannot be on the side of censorship. This is exactly why back in the day, I wasn't pro-Republicans, because remember when they were trying to censor video games? Do you remember that? Do you guys remember maybe growing up, if you're about my age, I'm 36. I remember them trying to censor video games, trying to say video games were too violent, trying to censor music, saying music was like, I'm not a fan of that. Like, period. I don't give a shit about any censorship. And that's where Marjorie Taylor Greene is like calling back to that time. And that's the problem. They're going back to that time. And that's a losing platform for them. Do not run on that. Are they really trying to go into this platform and have these views before the midterms? This is peak retardation. If they're trying to have a pro-censorship approach before the election, it's crazy. And yeah, Winning Reality, you say it was the neocons, but is Marjorie Taylor Greene a neocon? I didn't think she was, but oh well, yeah. Tipper in the PMRC, yeah. But why go back to those days?
Marjorie, I implore you, knock this shit off because it's really stupid. Stop aligning yourself with someone who is so antithetical to your core principles, and they are using you.
I will say this real quick about Nick. Nick is presuming her core principles. I don't think he may know, and maybe nobody knows what her core principles are, but he is presuming it. I think he's making an effective appeal because he's appealing for her to change her mind. But I honestly don't believe if Marjorie Taylor Greene believes purely in liberty. I don't believe if she actually believes in individual freedom or if she believes in a more theocratic vision, right? I'm not sure of that. I haven't seen an interview going one way or another, but it seems like based on this single statement, I would say that she's on more of the theocratic right side.
They're using you to accomplish their anti-liberty goal. That's what's going on. By the way, the person you're accidentally aligning with hates everything you do and say about trans people, about trans children, about transgender policies, and proposed legislation that you've put forward. All of the work that you do, this person hates, and yet you're aligning with them due to your unwitting attack on a website that almost guaranteed had nothing to do with the very, very unfortunate.
It didn't. It 100%. It did not have anything to do. The only thing that it had to do was it's part of a conflict between Kiwi Farms and Keffals because Keffals wants that fucking thread down, and Keffals thinks this is going to do it, or one of Keffals' supporters thinks this is going to do it. Right? That's the only link to Kiwi Farms.
Thing that happened to you. Instead, start employing the resources at the FBI. Start proposing legislation for tougher crackdowns on things like swatting. Start finding ways to go after people who try to use the state to put other people in danger. They're the enemy, and it was never Kiwi Farms. It was always.
Yep, there we go. All right, okay, we do not need to see more about this Minnesota grifter, so I'll just close that off right there. Good video from Nick. Honestly, he had a good take for once. I did appreciate that. Did appreciate that one. And his take there. And just to show you right here some backup. So we have the Daily Mail. I just want to show you what they're reporting. So you have the Daily Mail saying that this website, the Kiwi Farms, is a cyber stalking site. A cyber stalking site. So they are literally taking that as gospel. And if we want to look at the actual report, it's right here by, I believe this is Michael Phelan. Right here, there were 2 officers dispatched in reference to a male who had been shot 5 times in the bathtub. It said there was a female still in the residence and possibly had some children with her. While en route, we were informed it was the residence of Marjorie Taylor Greene. We approached, unsure what had transpired, was in progress. We made a tactical approach to the residence and began ringing the doorbell. After several minutes, we were met at the door by the victim. She informed of her reason for us being there and assured us was no issue. She stated that before this issue, the appropriate security services and requested a keep check on her residence. After we cleared the call, went back to service. They received a call from the suspect claiming responsibility. It was a computer-generated voice. So literally, a computer-generated voice went on with this and stated this. So why the fuck are you going to believe it? They were saying that they had a stance on transgender youth rights. They were trying to swat her. They were connected with Kiwi Farms, and they support cyber stalking. And their username is Autistic Right. Autistic Right. Shout out to all my autists out there. All my autists out there. I know there's lots of autists out there in the world. And no, Nick is not live right now. Nick is, I don't know whether he's going to stream later tonight, but Nick is not live right now, so far as I know. I don't see him live anywhere. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll check back in later. So, all right. So that's Marjorie Taylor Greene, how she's retarded. Guys, don't be retarded, whether you're on the right or left. Don't pull any of this dumb shit. Oh, Ricada's with Nita Infinity. Okay, got it. Let me get these two comments here. I want to get. Kat says, I disagree with you, Legal Mindset. I think she just went crazy with this one. Okay, that's fine. If you think this issue is the only one she went crazy on, that's fine. I think that's a fair point. That could be the case. We'll see, right? Maybe she comes out and after a couple days, she realizes she was used. Now, here's a good point from Conway Gritty. He says, you can be on the side of censorship if it contains threats or illegal activities. Kitty porn, stop with the hyperbolic censorship talk. No. See, Conway, you're wrong about this, brother. You're wrong. Let me tell you how you're wrong. Censorship is of speech. Criminal activity has never been qualified as speech, brother. This is where you're off. Defamation and criminal activity have never been protected speech. And I get it. It's easy to confuse that, right? It's easy to confuse that and say, oh, it's all free speech. No. Criminal activity has never been protected speech. In no history of this country, in no history of any country, my friend, has it ever been protected speech. So separate that out. Kitty porn is a crime. That under no definition is that censorship. That's criminal. Now, should we contain our crimes? Should we ramp back our crimes till there's severe stuff like kitty porn and stuff that's extremely bad for society? Yes, we do have too many laws. We do have too many things that are overregulated. I get that, right? That's a separate struggle. It's a separate argument. But it has never, ever been the case that you can defame somebody or commit a crime and get away with that. Ruben Hart said, agree with the 90s video games and scare tactics. The left is the new 90s conservative. As an absolute free speech populist, I laugh when the left fight for freedom with censorship. Yeah, it's absolutely stupid. It's a fight that they're going to lose, right? They're going to lose that one, and it's not going to look good for them. It's not going to look good for them at all. Never going to look good. All right. So let's move on to the next topic because I want to hit this here because I know it's a busy night and I want to cover some other things as we're going here. The last one I really wanted to get to. Actually, hold on. Let me cover this last statement from Marjorie Taylor Greene. This one needs to be shown. So here's her actual statement by Marjorie Taylor Greene.
The suspect claims that he or she is connected to this website, which is a site that actually supports cyber stalking. The suspect even gave police their username. So basically, as you pointed out, this is a suspect admitted to intending to do harm via cyber stalking. You said you fully want to, prosecute whomever did this. And I'm assuming that suspect is still at large, right?
Yes, there's an investigation underway, and there's an even investigation into whether that's really the person that did this. But isn't it concerning that such a website exists? Like, why does that even exist? Mm-hmm. That website needs to be taken down. There should be no business or any kind of service where you can target your enemy. That's absolutely absurd. And
this is not, she misunderstands. She says it literally is a business or service to target your enemy. That's not what Kiwi Farms is. That's literally not what Kiwi Farms is.
This is the type of lawlessness that Democrats want all over the country. You know, the Democrats.
I would argue that most people on Kiwi Farms are not Democrats. I would actually make that argument. I think that's true. I think it's pretty true that most people that are on Kiwi Farms are probably not Democrats. Just saying.
For the party of defund the police, which has created crime that is going out of control all over the country. But it's also failure of our government and failure of our law enforcement to not take down a website like that. Like, all of these types of groups need to be completely eradicated.
See, she doesn't understand it. She fell for that. that's where she went wrong.